a scientific proof. A proof that can be objectively examined using mathematics? The answer is yes. Believe it or don't, here it comes. It is well known that each letter in the Hebrew alphabet has a numeric value. For example, Aleph equals 1, Bet equals 2, Gimel equals 3, and so on. What is the connection between the numeric values of ancient Hebrew letters and scientific data of the 21st century? Apparently, words in the Holy Hebrew language convey more information than we thought. What information do we convey when we say simple Hebrew words like Ureach, moon, or Shemesh, sun? Could NASA's scientific data about the size and the mass of these celestial objects be hidden within these words? What about the Hebrew names for colors? May they contain accurate scientific data about wavelengths and wave frequencies related to these names? Is it true that the size of Earth and the fact that it is round can be scientifically concluded from its holy Hebrew name, Eretz? What if the Hebrew names for silver, gold, lead, sulfur, and many others contain recently discovered scientific data about their atomic weights? Is it conceivable that values of orbital angular momentum, mass, and size of all planets in our solar system are hidden within their Hebrew names? Do Hebrew words like or, light, and coal, sound, conceal within their numeric values the speeds of light and sound? Could there possibly be conclusive scientific evidence that the modern cosmological timescale and the timescale of the Genesis creation narrative are compatible after all? Is it even possible to prove such claims using an accurate and conclusive scientific method? Get ready for an adventure. In this movie, the truth is being revealed, and it is incredible. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis 1:1. Earth, the Hebrew name of our planet, contains secrets. The secrets are being revealed. The word Eretz stores accurate scientific data equivalent to today's knowledge of Earth's diameter and Earth's surface area, and all the rest of Earth's geometrical and even non-geometrical properties. What about the Hebrew names for moon, Yereach, and sun, Shemesh? The secrets are encrypted within these words as well. What is the numeric value of the words? Moon, Yereach in Hebrew. Yad equals 10. Resh equals 200. Het equals 8. 218 in total. Earth, Eretz in Hebrew. Aleph equals 1. Resh equals 200. Sadi equals 90. 291 in total. Sun, Shemesh in Hebrew. Shin equals 300. Mem equals 40. Shin equals 300. 640 in total. What are the current scientifically established sizes of these celestial objects? The moon's diameter equals 3,475 kilometers with a natural log of 8.1533. Earth's diameter equals 12,756 kilometers with a natural log of 9.4538. The Sun's diameter equals 1,391,000 kilometers with a natural log of 14.1455. Scientific data by NASA. Here is a summary of the data. Log represents the original number in a different format. Natural log uses e as a basis with a constant value of 2.71828. In fact, the number e is the default for log calculations. For example, if you open up your calculator and put the diameter value of the moon, i.e. 3,474.8 kilometers, and click on the In button on your calculator, the log e diameter value will be presented to you. For more information about log e, go to Wikipedia. It is suffice to say that due to some unique advantages that modeling in terms of log e affords, such mathematical modeling is commonly used by scientists and engineers in all branches of science and technology. Let us examine if the numerical values of the ancient Hebrew words for moon, earth, sun contain the formula to calculate the diameters of these celestial bodies. How? Using statistical analysis. First, we will mark the log diameter values, one set of data, on the vertical axis y, and the corresponding Hebrew numerical values, h and v, on the horizontal axis x. We then statistically examine if a linear relationship, a straight line, is formed between the 3 points produced by the two sets of data. The findings you are about to see are the first among many findings we will present during this movie, and it is all part of the studies and research done by Professor Chaim Shor. Here is a diagram with the diameter data by NASA. Let's examine it together, step by step. The horizontal axis, x, represents the Hebrew numeric value, h and v, of the words. Since the smallest value is 218, Yereach, and the highest value is 640, Shemesh, we start the x-axis just before 200 and end it at 700. The vertical axis y represents the celestial object's diameter by NASA. Let us find out what log e stands for in kilometers. Now, let us pinpoint the data on both axes so that we may realize whether the resulting points form a straight line. Where is moon, Yereach in Hebrew, on the x-axis? As we saw earlier, Yereach has a numeric value of 218. And where is the diameter value for the moon on the y-axis? Let's mark the junction point for the moon. Now let's match Earth. Eretz has a numeric value 291, as we saw earlier, and Earth's log diameter given by NASA is 9.4538. Now let's match the Sun. Shemesh has a numeric value of 640, as we saw earlier, and the Sun's log diameter given by NASA is 14.1455. We will now add the name represented by each point to the diagram. Now, a big question arises. Do these points, synchronized on both axes, match a linear equation? In other words, do the points align about a straight line? If the points are aligned about a straight line, it means that a match exists between HNV and the scientific data. Let's check. The points are almost completely aligned on a straight line. Soon, we will see Professor Shore's calculations of the linear correlation between HNV and the log diameter data and the probability to obtain this finding coincidentally. Later, we will show more examples. What would have happened if one letter was changed? Say that instead of Shemesh, the Torah had the word Zemesh. The numeric value would have changed from 640 to 347. The word Zemesh would appear here, and as you can see, the connection and match to a straight line would be lost because a single letter was changed. What if another letter was different? Say instead of Eretz, we had the word Erish. The word Erish would appear here. As you can see, a single letter change is critical. 2 letters leads to chaos. But in reality, the Jewish Torah names are Eretz, Yerech, and Shemesh, and the real Torah names match the scientific data by NASA. The Jewish Torah was written over 3,300 years ago. The words Yerech, Eretz, and Shemesh are those commonly used in the Jewish Torah, and their HNV values are calculated in a simple and straightforward manner. Let us understand what we are looking at and ask important questions. Why is it significant to obtain the 3 points in the plot aligned on a straight line? Namely, obtain a match between the ancient Hebrew numeric values, HNV, also known as Gematria, and the scientific data? How large is the correlation match obtained between the Hebrew words numerical values, HNV, and the scientific data? Is it possible to calculate the probability of getting such a match by random? Professor Chaim Shore asked these very same questions and explored them mathematically. Quote a Professor Chaim Shore, "The fact that 2 sets of data form points that are aligned on a straight line has a significant meaning on its own. The practical meaning of having 2 seemingly unrelated sets of data form points aligned on a straight line, as the significant statistical analysis shows, is that the 2 sets of data are measurements of the same physical attribute, though this attribute is expressed in the 2 axes by 2 different scales, HNV scale and log diameter scale. Using scientific measurements, there are always random deviations in empirical data. Therefore, scientists perform statistical analysis to determine that the 2 sources that had produced the 2 sets of data in fact maintain a linear relationship between them. This statistical analysis is termed linear regression. I usually explain the meaning of the straight line by showing an example of 2 different temperature scales such as Celsius versus Fahrenheit. Of course, a straight line would form. For example, Celsius versus Fahrenheit. As expected, obviously, a straight line is formed. What does it mean? It means that each point represents a single temperature value, only on different scales. Please note, the horizontal scale, Celsius, represents the vertical scale, Fahrenheit, and vice versa. For example, 100 degrees Fahrenheit equals 37.78 Celsius, and 37.78 degrees Celsius equals 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Conclusion: since Hebrew numerical values HNV and the log diameters of Moon, Earth, Sun form points aligned on a straight line, as the statistical analysis has shown, this means that HNV values represent the log diameters of these celestial objects, only on a different scale, the HNV scale. Quote of Professor Chaim Shor about the correlation between the two scales. The 3 points, Yereach, Eretz, Shemesh, are aligned almost exactly on a straight line with a linear correlation of 0.999. If the relationship was purely mathematical and not based on empirical observations, we would have obtained a correlation of 1. Quote of Professor Chaim Shor about the probability of obtaining this match by random. When the probability of obtaining certain findings by chance is smaller than 5%, significance level of 5%, we conclude that these findings are statistically significant. Scientists have been using this criterion for many years in all branches of the scientific investigation of nature. Using a statistical methodology based on computer simulation, explained in detail in my book, the probability of obtaining by chance only the finding related to Moon, Earth, Sun is 0.2%. End quote. In other words, a probability of 99.8% that this is not a coincidence, scientific and mathematical proof. Here is the histogram with the simulation results. Quote of Professor Chaim Shor. As explained in my book, only trios of words with slope ratios very near +1 would be considered as having a linear relationship. In reality, we find out via simulation that the slope ratios of trios of words produced randomly may vary from -100 to +100 and beyond. This means that the probability of a given trio of words produced randomly to have a slope ratio of +1 or thereabouts is extremely small, in fact, next to 0. End quote. We have only addressed the diameters thus far. What about the rest of the geometrical parameters, like volume, surface area, etc.? Quote of Professor Chaim Shor. Since the diameter is represented by log diameter and a straight line has formed, a linear relationship must also be obtained for any other property of the geometric shape of the celestial objects, like surface area and volume. End quote. Let us quickly examine the match of HNV with log volume and log surface area, as they are supposed to match. Here is a plot with the volume data, kilometers cubed. The vertical axis Y represents the celestial object's volume by NASA. As always, the horizontal axis X represents the Hebrew numeric value, HNV. As you can see, we got a match on a straight line, this time for the volume of the Moon, Earth, and the Sun. Now let us see the HNV correlation to log surface area, as it is also supposed to be aligned, as it is part of the same geometric shape. Here is a plot with the surface area, kilometers squared. Once again, as expected, the linear correlation is obtained, this time to the surface area of the celestial objects. It turns out that numeric values of the ancient Hebrew words match actual sizes of the Moon, Earth, and Sun on any conceivable geometrical property of a spherical shape. This is due to the existence of linear correlation of HNV, not with the original diameter data, but with log diameter data, not a self-evident finding, perhaps bordering a miracle. This means we are looking at a scientific and mathematical proof that the source of the Torah knew not only the shape of these celestial objects, namely spheres, but also their sizes. But wait! Is it possible that Eretz, Earth, Shemesh, Sun, Yereach, Moon, match not only the sizes of these celestial objects, but at the same time, also their mass, using same HNV? Before examining mass versus HNV, let us understand something very important. Mass and size of a set of celestial objects do not have to be perfectly correlated. Obviously, the bigger the object, the larger its mass is expected to be, but objects of the same size can have different masses. For example, take two balls of the same size, one made of lead and another of paper. This means that the masses of the Moon, Earth, and the Sun could have been different without changing their sizes. A match between HNV and the masses of these celestial objects would therefore be very remarkable. The Moon's mass is 7.347673 E plus 22 kilograms. E plus 22 means 10 to the power of 22, with a natural log value of 52.6512. Earth's mass is 5.972190 E plus 24 kilograms, with a natural log value of 57.0491. The Sun's mass is 1.989100 E plus 30 kilograms, with a natural log value of 69.7652. Here is a summary table. HNV correlation with log mass kg. The Hebrew words are the same, yareach, eretz, and shemesh. This time the mass is on the vertical y-axis, and as you can see, the HNV is aligned with the mass of the celestial objects. And once again, the linear correlation, or the match, is very high. How high, you ask? 0.985 correlation. That's 98.5%. While producing this very movie, a new finding was discovered. Quote a Professor Chaim Shor. During one of many exchanges of communication with the producers of this movie, while working on the English version, Mr. Oren Evron has informed me that the linear relationship between Hebrew gematria and long diameters of Moon, Earth, Sun extends to the English words, namely Moon, Earth, and Sun. Using 16th century Agrippa key for English alphabet gematria, Oren has found the English gematria for these words to be 170, 194, and 330 respectively, versus the Hebrew gematria of 218, 291, and 640 respectively. However, the English gematria values were found to be highly correlated with the log diameters of Moon, Earth, and Sun. I was both stunned and excited with the news. It immediately dawned on me that this finding implies that the gematrias for the two trios of Hebrew and English words must be highly linearly correlated. Indeed, a statistical analysis produced a linear correlation of 0.999, as may be learned from the following plot. Values of Hebrew words are read on the horizontal axis, those of English on the vertical axis. HNV versus English numeric value for Moon, Earth, Sun. As you can see, a linear match is formed. The new finding by Oren Evron opens up space for a whole new branch of investigative science yet to be explored. Furthermore, it has far-reaching implications for the validity of the much-researched hypothesis that ancient Biblical Hebrew had been source to all current languages, and for how these languages actually formed. It is also highly reminiscent of the ancient story of the Tower of Babel, Genesis 11, verses 1 through 9. If this relationship between Hebrew and English gematrias indeed proves not to be singular, then much research is awaiting scientists to be carried out." End quote. Now, let us ask a big question. Are there further matches between HNV and recently discovered scientific data? The answer is yes. Professor Chaim Shor has examined numerous word groups in the Torah, and the same phenomenon repeats itself over and over again. As we now know, numerical values of Hebrew words for moon, earth, sun convey the exact size and mass of these celestial objects. But the same Hebrew word, Yereach, moon, has another meaning in Hebrew, though pronounced differently. Yerach also means month. For example, 9 Yachei Leda, 9 pregnancy months. The Jewish month is a lunar month, namely based on the time it takes for the moon to encircle Earth. This is also why Hebrew for month is written like the Hebrew for moon, though the two words are pronounced differently. Could it be that Yereach stands for the size and mass of the moon, and at the same time, Yerach, having same letters as Yereach, represents the time cycle of the Jewish moon-based month? If it does, it would be an amazing triple-fold correlation. Let us examine Yerach, month, together with two other Hebrew words for time periods, Yom, day, and Shana, year. This will allow us to examine whether this trio of Hebrew words deliver information about the time cycles associated with them. To carry out the study, Professor Chaim Shor had used a common scientific unit for measuring cyclic phenomena called Hertz, Hz. 1 Hz equals 1 cycle per second. A choice of a different unit would not change the results of the statistical analysis. To demonstrate how time cycles of day, month, year are calculated, suppose that instead of Hertz, we have chosen year as our cycle unit. Then the calculation would look like this. For day, 29.53059 times 12 equals 354.37 cycles per year. For month, 12 cycles per year. For 1 year, 1 cycle per year. What is the numeric value of the words? Day, Yom, Yud equals 10. Vav equals 6. Mem equals 40, 56 in total. Month, Yerech, has the same letters and numeric value as Yereach. Yud equals 10. Resh equals 200. Het equals 8. 218 in total. Year, Shana, Shin, equals 300. Nun equals 50. He equals 5. 355 in total. Let us review the scientific frequency in Hertz, cycles per second, for day, month, and year. Day's frequency equals 1.1574 E minus 0.5, with natural log value of minus 11.3667. Month frequency equals 3.9194 E minus 0.7, with natural log value of minus 14.7521. Year frequency equals 3.2661 E minus 0.8, with natural log value of minus 17.2371. Here is a summary table. Let us now examine whether there is a correlation between the log frequency of day, month, year, and HNV. In other words, do the ancient Hebrew words represented by HNV contain hidden information about the cyclic nature of the time periods? Here is a plot of log frequency versus HNV for day, month, year. Once again, a linear alignment is formed. Where are the words from the Holy Torah? Day, Yom in Hebrew. Month, Yerach in Hebrew. Year, Shana in Hebrew. Once again, if a single letter was different, there would be no match. For example, if instead of Yom we had Ram, the value would change from 56 to 246, and the word rum would appear here, and the linear configuration of the points would be lost. Note, we changed only a single letter, but words could be made of 4, 5, even 6 or 7 letters. This means that the numerical values are precisely chosen out of a very large number of possibilities. Quote to Professor Chaim Shor about the correlation. The same observed phenomenon we saw earlier repeats itself. The 3 Hebrew words, Yom, Yerech, Shana, are aligned on a straight line with a linear correlation of negative 0.9992 if the relationship was purely mathematical, namely not based on empirical observations. We would have obtained a correlation of negative 1.0000. Quote a Professor Chaim Shor about the probability to get this finding by chance. Using computer simulation, while randomly selecting letters according to their frequency of appearance in the Hebrew Jewish Bible, I have found the probability of obtaining by chance a linear relationship to be 0.5%, end quote, i.e. 99.5% that this is not a coincidence. Again, we have a scientific proof obtained via a statistically significant result that the match between HNV and the scientific data is not coincidental. Let us be reminded, Ureach, moon, correlates not only with the moon's size and not only with the moon's mass, but also with the time period that the equally spelled word Yerech represents, namely month. Incredible 3-folds! But wait! Are there further matches such as these? Once again, the answer is yes. Let us dive into deeper waters and examine the ancient Hebrew word for life's most important substance on Earth: water. Much of Earth's water comes from out of space by huge blocks reaching Earth's atmosphere and evaporating. What is so special about water? Almost all life on Earth needs water to survive and thrive. The icebergs melt down. The steamy water from the oceans go across the land. The water goes down and the cycle of life continues. And don't we all just love pure and white snow? The flakes are so soft, beautiful, and symmetric. Have you ever seen a regular snowflake under the microscope? Please look closely. Here is a regular snowflake under the microscope. Do you spot a Star of David? Let us check out another snowflake. What is the general shape of this snowflake? Let us have a look once more at yet another snowflake, and we shall find another Star of David. Unlike other materials on planet Earth, which require long times and much energy to move from one state of existence to another, water naturally makes transitions between its 3 phases of existence all the time. What is the Torah name for water? Mayim. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters